चक्षुर्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकरमयं ददति स्वापतिकम्। मां विष्णुपदा कृष्णविश्वा बुद्धले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिते नमः। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे श्रीशून्यवादी प्रसन्न वंशकल्पद्रुभस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Usually I don't like to speak after eating, you know. And I had a good lunch, so, so let me hope that I can transmit something here with full stomach. Yes, so first of all, it's my great honor and pleasure to visit you here in Kurunavaram. Actually, many years ago, I sent two ladies here to do the Prabhupada Marathon. Two German ladies. This quite a few years ago, 6, 8 years ago or something. So I always wanted to come and visit here, but yeah, really now I get it. But better late than never. So I'm not sure what topic was announced to you because we did change topics.
Mataji, I just put like it's a surprise topic. Visit the when attend the program.
Okay, surprise topic. Yes, I want And Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives different categories of prajalpa, which I find very helpful. So we realize, my God, I'm engaged in all of them. Because, yeah, unless we hear about these things, we may keep ourselves in that illusion that, prajalpa, gossip, or gossiping. But no, gossip is just one kind of prajalpa. There's so many more. Yeah, yes. And we will see, we are pretty good at that. Yeah. Yes, so now, interesting to understand. Yesterday in the house, we were discussing the topic of envy, how envy manifests. So today, this topic of prajalpa, we will discover that most types of prajalpa have their roots in envy. And that's another reason why this prajalpa is so poisoning. Not only because of the content, which is mundane, but also because of the consciousness with which it is given. Because this is quite another interesting topic, power of consciousness. Consciousness travels on sound vibration. So whatever sound comes out of our mouths, either through speaking or singing, our consciousness travels on that sound. So if we say some things which have their roots in envy, then this envy travels on the sound and contaminates the whole atmosphere and everybody's hearts who hear it. Yeah. Yeah. So there's these two reasons why this prajalpa is so detrimental. The contents is the more gross reason, but then there's the subtle reason of envy, spreading this envious talk. Yeah. I mean, recently we had Ram Navami, so I find it always remarkable how this whole drama had its roots of this maidservant getting into, what's her name?
Mantra.
Kakesia. Insignificant position. It's not a woman with a high position or something. I mean, for me, she is, the maidservant is the embodiment of prajalpa. The poisonous effect of this talk. Getting into Kaike's ear, even though she is a highly elevated soul, but she got contaminated by this. Coming from a maidservant, my God. From that, this whole big drama should be a warning. So in any case, Bhaktivinoda Thakur starts by saying that today, and this was in those days, this is a few hundred years ago, but even then, Bhaktivinoda Thakur was saying today people are more and more godless, and therefore their talk is also godless. And any kind of godless talk is actually prajalpa. It creates a big impediment in our cultivation of devotional service. So let us have a look. First category Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives is simply useless talk. So he classifies useless talk like novels, any kind of stories which have nothing to do with Krishna or something. But then interestingly, also the world news. He says newspaper, which is again outdated. I don't think hardly anybody reads the newspaper anymore because it's all there on the internet, you know. But yeah, the world news is also classified under Pujaba. And we may wonder, how is this? So there is also a nice episode with Prabhupada. He was traveling on the plane together with some of his disciples. So in former times, we used to get newspapers on the plane. Maybe some of you remember. Now they don't even do that anymore. So the devotees were reading this Time magazine on the plane. And Time magazine is known to be a good magazine, critical. So Prabhupada said, oh, let me have a look at this Time magazine, and he flipped through the pages. And he gave the magazine back to the devotees, saying, actually, devotees should not read this. And then he made this profound statement. He said, it makes this world look so real. And that's exactly what the news do. It makes this world look so real, right? But the more we absorb our minds in all the world news, which war is going on, where who's becoming the president, this and that, and so many things, you know, that makes us think these are actually the world's problems. And that's reality. But actually, Prabhupada says it's the nonsensical stage performance, right? Yes. Actual reality is something completely different. It's my relationship with Krishna. That's eternal reality. So Krishna consciousness is meant to transform actually our perception of reality. You know? That when we come newly to Krishna consciousness, we really think this is reality. But then, as our relationship with Krishna more firmly establishes, we realize, and that's eternal reality. That's what we're allowed to keep at the moment of death. It's my relationship with Krishna. Everything else, curtain closes, show is over, all finished. Who cares where there is war and who is the president? At that moment, not important. So yeah, that's why we should not get so absorbed in the world news, because it strengthens that illusory, flickery reality. So that's why we should absorb ourselves what's happening in the spiritual world. That's eternal reality. Yes, so Prabhupada's comment was very profound. It makes this world look so real. So of course we can balance it very well. If we have some, leadership position in the temple, or we do some important work outside, seemingly important, we may have to know something what's going on. But I remember for years I was looking at any news or anything, and sometimes I was in the temple time and people said, oh yeah, great, such and such won the elections in America. And presidency, I had no clue, oh yeah, president. and I didn't miss anything ultimately. But sometimes you may appear a little foolish if you don't know the obvious thing. Or who wins, the European football team. So the next kind of category is argument. Yes, simply quarreling, arguing. Usually they come from false ego battle. Who is right, who is wrong? Just see, I told you. Yes, so this is like we're wasting the mind's strength by engaging in arguments. Shouldn't be done. And definitely here. What's behind it? Envy. Yeah, because we want to establish ourselves in this pure position of prove to the others that they are wrong. So it's a whole thing, you know. So this quarrel, this tendency for quarrels, it's creating so much negative energy here and tension and so on. It spoils relationships. So we have to stay away from these things. Very common in family life. You know, sometimes because I give all these seminars, these books, so people often come with their marriage problems. And then often people say, I don't know why we are arguing over all these stupid little things, because usually they're not life death situations, you know, they're just petty, stupid little things. Yeah, I know why people argue. It's just a false ego thing. False ego is pushing us, wanting to be right. So then the next category is gossip. Meaning talking about others without reason. Of course, again, we have reason. Yes, discussing others' character, especially negative, of course. Discussing people's nice qualities, no restrictions on that. You know? But yeah, we like to talk about people's issues and problems and bad characters. But this should, the only reason why we may have to do this is if we are in a position of leadership, if we are serving as a mentor, a guru, you know, then we may have to, in a well-wishing mood, discuss a person's issues, how to help them, how to better engage them. But as a rule, we may not be in that position. And even if we are in that position, we should also only talk to people who are in this position, and not just to anybody. So just that we are a mentor or leader doesn't give us permission to just talk freely about people's qualities. But yeah, I mean, this is such a common thing, you know, or have you heard such and such doing this, having done that? Oh, you know? I mean, during pandemic, I spent the sea usually as a traveling preacher. You only stay a week in one place. So you actually never really get into this, thank God. But during pandemic, I couldn't staying 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and I'm moving on. Oh God. Especially in rural communities, I don't mention any names, but it's really the village talk. Yeah. And interestingly, it always goes in circles. You know, one person said something, so then they pass it on. Everybody twists it a bit around and something to it. So, and then it goes back to the beginning. You know, and then that person, what? I didn't even say that. Why did you say that? And then the whole thing goes around again. Oh, and terrible. I've had so many conflicts come about like that, so much criticism and relationships are spoiled and misunderstandings. And, oh, no. Yeah, so, and again, what's behind it? Envy, trying to reduce other people's importance by talking badly about them. You know? Yes, it's envy that's made the diagnosis. Yeah, so and I was also wondering, why is it today so difficult to keep things confidential? You know? It's a real problem. People don't even dare to open their hearts anymore because They have to have that fear that everybody knows. So I was trying to analyze why is it so difficult to keep things confidential. So then I realized again, this is connected with a false ego. Because when somebody tells us something, we want to be the special person who got the news. You know? And we ask a friend, oh, have you heard that? Oh, really? She didn't tell you. Oh, well, she told me. And I'm going to be the special one who tells you. But don't tell anybody, it's confidential. You know? And then that person saying thing, oh, guess what? Such and such told me. Oh, she didn't tell you? Well, she told me, so just see how special I am. And I will be the one who gives the big news to you. But again, don't tell anybody. It's the confidential. So people use it to show off. It's rather subtle. But you introspect when you catch yourself telling somebody something, then you have a look in your heart. And if you're a little honest and perceptive, you have to agree, yeah, well, I want to show off that I know the big news and you don't. You know, and I'm going to tell you. You know, that's what's behind it. So enough. Yes. So then we have the next category, debating. We can say it's like a more serious version of arguments. You know, debating can be philosophical debates, kind of debates. So yeah, again, false egos behind it, because debating, it is not a matter of humble inquiry to find out the absolute truth, but now usually we debate and we want to get our point across. We don't even want to hear what other people say. Right? We just want to get our point across. And that creates so much agitation. Right? Very often, these debates are going on over the internet, social media, right? Maybe you have been in this situation. One person makes maybe a statement about ourselves or a certain situation. So many people read it, and we think, well, I have to somehow comment on this. If I keep quiet, then everybody thinks it's true, right? So then we try and make a comment. So then the other person twists it all around, makes a weapon out of it, boom, shoots it back. And then again, if I keep quiet, everybody thinks it's true. So again, we make our comment like that. It goes on and on and on. No end to it. Right? You've ever experienced this? Yes? 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 Kind of thing. You kind of get sucked in because you feel, I have to respond. No, better not respond. Hare Krishna, all the rest of and boom, finish, pull out. Because it goes on and on and on and on. And with every exchange, you feel all this negativity building up, you get all disturbed, the mind cannot concentrate anymore, changing the whole thing, the story goes around in your head and circles, and you know, whenever we find ourselves in such a situation that something goes around in circles, you know that situation? Yes? Or is it only me? For sure, false ego takes us for a ride. 100%. Whenever we can't drop it and put it aside and we can't stop thinking about it, it's monologues and dialogues. 100% sure, false ego. Yeah, so all this negativity we feel, this aggression and agitation, it's the contaminating effect of that. Actually, during pandemic, I don't know what it was like here, but in some parts of the world, this whole vaccination topic was really splitting communities. No? Oh my God. There was so much debating going on. For vaccination, against vaccination. Both camps were thinking they know they have to save the world, commanding each other with all kinds of links and stuff. Oh my God. You know? And I know some communities where the relationships were so spoiled over this topic that even a year later, it was not repaired. You know? And that's when I realized, yes, Prajalpa, it will destroy this movement. It's truly right. You know? Yeah. And now, unfortunately, we have maybe a little bit of this with this war in Ukraine between the Russian and Ukrainian citizens. So much arguing going on with this and that. Whose fault is it? Who's behind the war? You know, no need. It's outside of our circle of influence. What we think will not make any difference to the world. You know, it's not our business to worry about all these things. You know? So it's Prajalpa. It's definitely Prajalpa. Yes, yes. At the moment of death, who cares? Vaccination, yes. Has no significance on the absolute platform. No importance. In war and all that. Once we face death, curtain closes, it's all finished, chosen. You know? Yeah. So we have to keep out of these topics and not get involved because we can't do anything about it. Yeah? Yes. So we can inform ourselves and we make our own decisions. You know, whether we it's everybody's personal decision. So why are we having a whole big discussion? You know, like other medical situations, some people take antibiotics, some people take chemo. So it's everybody's personal decision. You know? So yes. So then another one, fault finding. We were also talking about that yesterday. Criticizing, fault finding. Ooh, we're all pretty good at that. And again, what's behind it? Envy. We try and pull other people down, we minimize their importance, we try and establish ourselves in a superior position. So that's why we do this. And yeah, interestingly, our previous Acharya Sridhar, he makes the statement, whether it is true or not, talking about faults of a Vaishnava means blasphemy. Even if it is true, yes, we often miss that point. And we think, well, the devotee has that fault. So what about freedom of speech here? Can't I say the truth? What's wrong with that? What in Scotland? You know, I can say what I want, what is truth. But when we look in our heart, when we point out some faults of the devotee, if we really look in our heart, we are a little perceptive. We have to be honest, detect some envy there. That's why we have this desire to make this statement. Right? Yes? Yeah. Let's take an example. We have a visiting preacher coming, he gives a lecture, so then a friend of ours says, oh, that was a nice class, wasn't it? And then we say, yeah, it was all right, but people have eaten too much and all the blood goes to the stomach. They fall asleep. Yes. So we say, yes, it was nice, but he didn't quote so many verses. It was also just that we find something. So even if it is true, even if he didn't quote so many verses, still, just the fact that we feel this urge to make the statement shows we want to reduce this importance. Yeah. It's in. So good to remember that. Because Srila Swami says blaspheming devotees. This offense to chanting the holy name. Yeah, and that's one main reason why we don't make as quickly advancement as we could, because we blaspheme devotees, even if it is true. But still talking about it. Unless we are, again, in a position where we have to, in a well-wishing mood, try to discuss a person's faults, and to help him, to reform him, to uplift him. Usually we are not in this position. So then another one is speaking falsehood, fake news, creating rumors. It's a big thing out there in the material world. It seems almost like some people's main engagement is just to create fake news and put false videos in the world and agitate people and play one against the other and create conflicts and easily these tendencies also enter our communities. But we set some rumors into the world just to damage somebody. So really, pajama again comes from envy. Simply creates anger, hatred, misunderstandings, conflict. What for? What for? Yes, and then another category is to blaspheme the devotees. So we connected that already with the fault finding. But there's so many other ways also how to blaspheme the devotees. This is also a category of pajama. And again, envy is the root cause. Mad elephant offense. If we allow these things to enter our spiritual life. And sometimes I'm wondering, how can devotees not be afraid of this offense? Sometimes devotees, say so many things about others, and wow, are they not afraid of committing Vaishnava? What is this? Yes, and the last category is worldly talk. Simply talking maybe even about different faculties of knowledge, physics, mathematics, whatever. Unless it's really used in preaching, like we can use archaeology, biology, astrology, but other things, if it is just for the sake of showing our knowledge, some sportiveness there, and showing off how intelligent we are, something. This is also a drama. Yeah, so these are the main categories which Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives. Half of you are asleep. See, this is what happens when people eat. Because after eating, people get tired. That's why usually people first have the fast, then it's the child. It's more chance. People stay awake, but people sleep. I can see it. Yeah. So before we ask for questions, I want to, bring attention to one really important rule of Vaishnava etiquette, which unfortunately we so often don't follow. So whenever there is some disagreement on a higher level above our heads, Vaishnava etiquette is we should not involve. We should not take sides. We should not pass judgment because we don't know what is really going on. We can't see the full picture. Right? Yes, yes. So this is a very important rule of Vaishnava etiquette because it's outside of our circle of influence. What we think doesn't matter. Right? And if we involve ourselves, then often it creates so much more disturbance because we don't have the full picture. Yes. But this unfortunately often happens. People get involved. Because there's so many controversial topics in this podcast. So, let others work that out. Like often people ask me, so what do you think about the female dictionary topic? And what does it matter what I think? What difference does it make? It's not my service to deal with it. Thank God. Thank God. So let others deal with it. What I think, who cares? No, I engage myself in these topics. I'm not too busy. So we should just stick to our service, our circle of influence, and deal with these topics, rather than involving ourselves, which is not our service to deal with, pass judgments and talk and influence others. Very detrimental. It can, ruin everything and destroy this movement as well. Vaishnava etiquette is always understanding. If we just follow the Vaishnava etiquette, that's Krishna's way to protect us from all kinds of miseries and calamities. All right, let me see if we have any questions. Anything for further discussion? Yes. Is there another mic? Yes.
You're mentioning that when it's outside our circle of influence, and we shouldn't.
Yeah, try and speak English. I have a bit of trouble catching this. Maybe shut me up. Can you turn my sound up again? Trying to sabotage me here.
He's not even Scottish.
It's the microphone's doing this.
Your mic is too high. Yes. Okay.
So you're mentioning outside our circle of influence. So
Yeah.
as we become older devotees and older, then does our circle of influence shift where we become almost like certainly we have a lot more influence over what's going on. And if we remain silent.
Well, then that is our circle of influence. You just explained it. Our circle of influence is becoming bigger.
Yeah.
So, we are then in our circle of influence.
So then
we can say something.
Yeah.
But also it has to be according to Vaishnava etiquette. I don't need to make all kinds of intrigues and attacks and pushing out things through and all that. No, we simply give our thought about something and then let people deal with it who are actually dealing with it.
and how do we avoid talking about people's fault if they are actually there And we don't acknowledge that, and we don't alert the community to that. So, well, if there is within our circle that understand that surely then there is opportunity, isn't it? It's not blasphemy to call a spade a spade.
Well, it depends on our position. You know, if the person is senior to us, it is not our business to confront the person, even if that person is at fault. No, the proper version of etiquette is that we report this to that person's authority and then let that person deal with it. That we've done our part. This is, you know, definitely an important thing to know, because sometimes we see things. Oh, well, I've reported a few things over the years, you know. Yes. Yeah, yes, because I'm always observant and I see things and, you know, they not report them. And then let them deal with it. And if they don't want to deal with it, oh, then that's their responsibility. I've done my part, I've reported it. But then to continue and think, oh, they're not dealing with it, and oh, yeah. Yeah, so, you know, saying this does not mean we turn the blind eye and we don't see things. We see things, and if it's alarming, we report it. Yeah? Yes. But if we are in a senior position, or maybe equal, so then we can maybe, especially if we have a trusting relationship with that person, then maybe we can address it. But if there's no deeper relationship there, we cannot say it. It will not be accepted. Actually, one Diksha Guru said this once to me in privacy. He said, the most challenging thing for a guru is that he can exactly see what instruction he should give to his student. But because he knows he's not ready to accept it, he cannot give it. So even to Guru, this happens, you know, because especially Guru cannot put their disciple in a situation where they disobey the orders. So yeah, it's all a question of relationship. It's a question of how much faith that person has in you. Right? If that person has strong faith in you, then you can correct, then you can point out. But if there's no strong faith in you, it will only, you know, damage relationships. The person will not accept.
Is there a strategy for increasing trust that has been broken? If you're in a relationship with someone and the trust and the faith has been undermined, and is there a situation where you can say that trust now is never going to manifest at this point? It's broken down to the point now where it can never be brought back.
Yeah, we had a similar discussion with the ladies today. Well, see, we also have to be intelligent, and we have to understand that, yeah, as long as we are still more strongly conditioned and not so purified yet, it is human nature, the lower nature, to use things against you or somebody else, right? So we have to be intelligent to understand to whom we can, you know, whom we can trust, to what degree. We actually cannot so much blame the other person. We can only blame ourselves, that we are so naive and stupid, and we just tell anything to anybody, and then we are surprised if people misuse what we say. Right? So the understanding that we have to discriminate and be careful does not mean we cannot be friends. we can be friends with the person. But we are realistically understanding where the other person stands, and we don't tell them some touchy things because they may just misuse that information or twist it around, use it against you. You know? So that is, our part. The senior is putting the boundaries on a relationship, right? But we have to set the right format and boundaries. So even if the person is senior, well, usually we calculate or we judge seniority according to how many years a person is in Krishna consciousness. Well, that's a pretty external and almost material criteria. Doesn't actually mean anything. So even with so-called seniors, I mean, Prabhupada gave us that example. It's just like a hospital. Right? So at the hospital, you have sick people, not healthy people. And we are all having our diseases, our symptoms, and so there has to be a little compassion there also. We can't reject each other just because we are still sick. Well, we are in the hospital, we are in the wash, we want to get healthy. So there has to be a little compassion there. And, if we see somebody passing through and you are on the corridor and vomiting blood, we don't just, oh, what's he doing? You get out. No, we think, God, how can I help the person? So same thing there in a spiritual sense. If people still struggle with envy or this or that, put this down. So we have to have that vision that it's part of the disease. And we don't shoot each other down just because we are still sick. We should think how to encourage each other, how to uplift each other. But then also, like in the hospital, we may have to keep a little distance so we don't catch the same disease or something. Social distancing. We practice it here. So we have to see things a little bit from the spiritual vision and not get all pulled into things and so on. And as I said, to really discuss a person's problems, it has to be done in a well-wishing mood and by a person who is authorized. But if you're not authorized, if you're not their mentor or their guru, or we're not their department head, then it's not our position. Yes. Otherwise, it's bizarre. I mean, if we would all follow this, then our communities would thrive. They don't thrive if we don't follow. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji, for the nice class. How do we understand confidentiality? I mean, I think it need not be quite clear, black and white, what to keep confidential, what not to keep confidential, when and to whom to reveal. Maybe a small example comes, say someone wants to come and live in the brahmacharya ashram. And if someone knows that, okay, the person has some problems from before and which may not be so good for the community altogether, but if he doesn't reveal, should he keep it in confidence to the ashram leader or should he share it with the ashram leader as a warning?
Well, it depends. We don't have, for example, we don't have to go in all the details. We can just be a little vague about it and So yes, the person has problem in this regard. But you know, and without going into all details, for example. And also the ashram leader has to be mature. See, we can compare this in the medical field. People also have this, how do you call it in English? German research Schweigepflicht. So you have this duty to, duty of silence. Kind of like in German, Schweigepflicht. Duty of silence. Okay. Yeah. So in medical field, you know, the doctors, they cannot tell everybody what the patient has. No, they have to keep this confidential. But of course, you know, between doctor and nurse, they have to talk about it, right? Or between doctor and doctor. Right? So common sense, right? If then they say, oh, I have the duty of silence, I cannot tell them to the nurse what the patient's problem is. Oh, well, that's pretty stupid. So same thing is there with the devotees. But those who are really in leadership positions, and hopefully they are mature enough and they're well-wishing friends, you know, they have to discuss. But maybe the ashram leader, maybe better to discuss it with the next authority up, with the temple president, and then they discuss whether the person is fit for the ashram, you know, because we can also read the person's chances to reform himself if everybody knows, and often people are very, you know, judgmental and reject people and this and that. So, and I mean, there's stories with Prabhupada also, like when Mother Teresa, the former Swami, then Prabhu fell down, you know, on the devotees were telling everybody, you know, and Prabhupada got very upset and said, why do you have to tell everybody, you know, this just makes it more difficult for him to reform himself. You know, so, yeah, we have to discriminate. You know.
Thank you.
And definitely the other residents of the ashram, no need for them to all know it. Anything else? Yes.
Thank you. Could you speak a little bit more about Vaishnava etiquette and what we can do to help our situation improve in regards to Vaishnava etiquette?
Oh, Vaishnava etiquette is such a broad field, you have to be a little more precise.
Is there anything that comes to your mind that you think might be relevant to share right now?
Well, the main thing that came to my mind is what I shared.
There was a lot of what not to do. The Kajalka, could you suggest what we could do to help us build our community stronger and also our individual spiritual lives in regards to Vaishnava etiquette and what the relevance that is to us in our Krishna consciousness?
Okay. Well, Bhagavad Gita 17:15, there is this verse on the austerity of speech. And there is described speech in the mode of goodness, what that should have, that the words are truthful, pleasing, beneficial and uplifting, not agitating to others, and reciting verses from scriptures. So that you know, is the uplifting speech, the speech we want in opposition to the Java. So, especially for communal living, you know, if everybody sticks to that, should be truthful, pleasing, uplifting, you know, and not agitating to others. And the verses we have in the morning, evening class, you know, but if we could just be mindful of these four things, that would create so much more harmony.
Can I ask about corrections? Sometimes we have a tendency to want to correct others because there's so many rules and regulations and so many minor details, but I see that's very important. What's the etiquette in regards to that, like correcting seniors, juniors, and how that affects the atmosphere of a temple?
Yeah, I feel like saying all these things are in the books I published. Yes, sheltering relationships. There's a whole chapter on the culture of correcting others. What from this back? Because yeah, that's the whole thing, you know. Just that somebody, the fact that somebody does something wrong doesn't mean just anybody can come and correct it. Right? Often when a person comes new to Krishna consciousness, everybody jumps on and corrects. Oh, finally, there's somebody I can correct. You know, so the poor person gets it from our side. You know. Yeah. So now, actually, Vaishnavadic insight is one should be non-envious in order to correct somebody. Because the correction in itself may be perfect. But if it is given with envy or false ego, it contaminates the person's heart. So whenever we find ourselves in this situation, where we can hardly control ourselves, I have to tell this person right now, how can you do this? Oh my God. Oh, right? Not to correct in this way. Guaranteed false ego envy is at its work. Whenever we find it hard to control the tongue, we have to say it right now. Get all meditated about. False ego and envy, they're good friends. Yeah, so I usually tell people, wait until you cool down completely. And it might mean you have to sleep it over. Yeah? And next morning, the world looks already different. We see the world with different eyes. So sleeping one night does wonders. But maybe we have to wait 2 or 3 nights. And then also what is very helpful, that before we actually give that correction, we have this prideful mood that we pray, oh please Krishna, help me to really bring this correction across, and the mood of well-wishing friend, wanting their very best. You know? So if we have that prayerful mood, and then at least for these 2 minutes when we offer the correction, Krishna helps us to be non-envious. Yes, it's very subtle, you know. The best thing can be completely poisoned when given with envy and false ego. Yeah. I'm sure we have been in both situations, giving a correction, false ego, envy, mood, or receiving one. Right? So how do you feel? How do you feel when you give or receive a correction in the false ego mood?
Unpleasant.
Huh?
Unpleasant.
You're extremely unpleasant. You have a really ugly feeling at the heart. You know? And that's exactly the effect of the false ego. Even though the correction may have been perfect, but because it is given with envy, false ego, everything false. Even with children also. When we give instructions, corrections in a happy mood, contaminates the child's heart, actually.
interesting. It's like what you said at the start of the class, that it's all sound vibration. What's carried on the sound vibration is the motivation behind what we're saying.
The consciousness, yes. That's what kirtan is. You know, the love, the devotion, calling out to Krishna, that comes, you know, out of our hearts, travels the sound vibration. If the kirtan leader has pure devotion on his heart. But if he wants to show up, then that isn't so good. Good to know. Yes.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. It's been very nice to hear from you. And just on the back of this note, I'd like to ask, we may likely be on the receiving end of some criticism which is maybe a bit distasteful for us. So how can we best digest that without being aggravated and without bearing the same energy?
Well, if we understand what's going on, you know, and if we have a bit of spiritual strength, then we can maybe try not to allow ourselves to get affected by that energy, but still accept the correction if it is a good one. You know, that we take what is useful and we discard the contamination. Yeah, but for that we need some spiritual maturity, some spiritual strength. Especially now when we hear these things, then we know, you know, then we can understand that actually the correction itself was true, it's useful. And but because that person's heart is not pure, that's why I don't feel so nice. But again, if we have the vision of this going being like a hospital, the person is still not cured, you know, then we can still deal with it in a nice way. Rather than shooting each other down.
Thank you. I'm wondering then, in my immaturity, it may be that I don't react in the way that I would be best pleased with. So how can I move forward with that as well, with the kindness to myself? How can I kind of recommend that in my own internal sphere when I'm not acting in the way that I would like to?
Or when you give the correction or something.
Yeah, it could be like this, just if I'm acting outside of what I know theoretically to be proper behavior, and still somehow I'm not able to act in such a way. How can I?
Well, that reminds me of these 5 steps I usually like to give, which are very powerful, practical, useful 5 steps which help us to transform any kind of unwanted patterns of behaviors. So step number 1 is we hear about the topic. Hearing always makes us conscious, right? So then step number 2 is we desire to give up like pajama. So we hear about it, that makes us realize what all falls into the category of pajama, how we are having this habit of talking pajama every day. So then to step number 2 is we desire to get rid of this. But we have to keep it out of our heart. Then step number 3 is we are introspective and honest. Looking in our heart. Why did I say this? Why did I do this? This introspection and honesty has to be like our second nature, that we always reflect. Without this reflection and introspection and being honest, we actually cannot get anywhere. We can always, the contaminated intelligence finds always the justifications why we are doing things and why we are right to do this and that. So we have to introspect. And that point, we need a mentor. A mentor can help us to identify, to help us in this introspection and so on. So, and when we introspect, then we catch ourselves doing the wrong thing. Right? So, that is already progress, because at least we catch ourselves. For so many years, we were doing the wrong thing, but we didn't even notice. But now we realize, oh, here we go again. I couldn't help myself. So, and after catching ourselves doing the wrong thing, what's the step number 5? What do you think? Well, if it was so easy, do the right thing. You know, we can tell us 50,000 times and we'll do the wrong thing anyway. So what's the step number 5? Huh? Yeah, all right, but this will also not help so much because we will do the same thing again. So, what do we have to do? Huh? Well, if it's so easy, you know, you'll come and change now. But no, these patterns of behaviors are so deep. We've been carrying them with us for so many lifetimes. So what do we do?
Silence.
For how long can we be silent? Maybe for one day or another. But yeah, pray to Krishna, cry out to Krishna. That's the solution. Crying out to Krishna, begging Lord Nrsimhadev to enter our heart, to perform the heart surgery. Yes, we have Nrsimha Dasi coming up. So Lord Nrsimhadev prepares our heart so we can approach Radha Krishna. He is expert, you know, with his chakra. So we have to beg him to free us from this envy and falsity. They are like little Hiranyakashipus, you know, truly. We can see Hiranyakashipu as a personification of the envy and falsity. He can uproot them. But our problem is that we have this illusion that envy, false ego also give us some juicy fruits to enjoy. That's why we usually maintain it very nicely. Yes, all right, so you can take this one, but not that one. Yeah, so, and if we do these last 3 steps again, that we are introspective and honest, we catch ourselves doing the wrong thing, we cry out to Krishna. We do that again and again, then sooner or later we come to the 6th step, which is we catch ourselves doing the right thing. Some little day-to-day situation will come our way, and we realize, well, this time I could just let it go by. I didn't have to react and respond. And then, so then we see, yeah, it works. Eventually, we can transform these patterns of behavior. Very practical. I use these steps myself. But it's constant internal work. All right, so please give me the permission to quickly say a few words about this book. Just in case I don't want to get on your nerves, but just in case there is somebody who still hasn't heard it. So it's because you asked for Vaishnava Vikatan. Well, all the books are full of Vaishnava. Because I have this Institute for Spiritual Culture. I've been preaching in Bangladesh for 24 years. And that's where I've learned so many things about Vaishnava. How to live this Vaishnava life. And all the books are full of it. You know. Each book is a 15-hour course, which I usually give in my. So you get quite a bit of education. Many temples use these books as handbooks for devotea training. Or if you're a preacher, very practical, you know, all you have to do is read 1, 2 chapters, take a few notes, you've got all Prabhupada's quotes in there, maybe it's your seminar. You don't have to come up with it yourself, it's all there. So spiritual culture, Krishna's divine system. This is all about the man, woman, nature's qualities, that they're not the same, they're very, very different, because according to Krishna's system, they are meant to play certain roles. I mean, yes. And we women are very powerful. We have a very powerful Shakti. But we are meant to use this to empower the man and be the auspicious source of energy and inspiration, and not to compete with. But the modern days, we women like to compete with a man. And that's actually what makes men in Kali Yuga so weak and, sorry to say, useless. Yes, we women complain about it, but we realize how much we contribute to the whole situation. Yeah, so it's quite eye-opening reading. Very useful also for married life. But yeah, even though the whole book is about women, because we play such an important role. But yet in India, in many temples like Pune, Chapani, they use this book for brahmachari training. Yeah, so that the men understand what role we women are meant to play and how to understand all these strong statements. What Prabhupada says heavy words. And I'm trying to give some insight why Prabhupada says these things. And it took me so many years to understand it myself. And it has saved already quite a few marriages. No, it's true. So then sheltering relationships. That's all about the importance of having a mentor. That without having a mentor and eventually becoming one, we actually cannot make a living. Just having Diksha Guru not enough. We need somebody on a more regular basis. You know, if we have a mentor, anything can be worked out. You know? Yes. But sometimes people get so senior that nobody can tell them anything. Right? Then we live in a very risky situation. Our Sheshika Guru always said to me, live to be corrected. There's always something to move on to. Yeah, so when you read this book, you will be convinced. Having a mentor and eventually becoming what we cannot. And there's our chapter on envy, and that's what we discussed. Culture of correcting others, culture of respect. So an important thing. And we are the false ego, our constant companion and troublemaker. Yeah, I mean, today we were touching a few times of false ego. Also, when we get offended, how often does that happen? It's false ego, crying for justice. When we can't forgive, we can't let go, move on, it's all false ego stuff. And there's also a whole chapter on chanting in Japa and Kirtan. It's like a summary of a holy name retreat. Kirtan can be the scenario to feed and boost the false ego. Yes. But it's all pretty simple. And then we have entering the Rihasashram, how to do it, how better not to do it. We have a high divorce rate. It comes because we start the whole thing with the wrong approach. So very helpful. I mean, this is almost one of the most important aspects of devotee care, to help devotees find the matching partner. Yes. There's a whole list of over 200 topics which people should discuss with each other, you know, before they sign the contract. So it's important for all devotees who are not married yet, for mentors and people who guide others, for parents who want to help their children find a romantic partner. Very important. And last but not least, family life is an ashram secrets of success. Yeah. Just the fact that we wear tilak and have neck beads does not mean our family life is actually a place suitable for cultivating pure bhakti. Doesn't mean that. It means education. I've got a 15-hour course on it, which I get the time for. But yeah, people don't educate themselves. They just get married and have no clue. No. Full of Vaishnava educated culture. Yeah. And there's a whole chapter on physical intimacy in marriage, how to live this physical marriage. There's quite a lot of confusion over this, which often leads to divorce. And I did quite some research. Nobody talks about it, right? So I did some research. I came across amazing episodes with Prabhupada, which hardly anybody knows, which adds a different perspective to the whole topic. Also very important for giving guidance. There's still quite a lot of immaturity in our movement. So I simply hope this will make our family life more Krishna conscious and at the same time more emotionally balanced and harmonious. So if any of you would like to get some books, these last 3 are £15 each. The first 2 are £10 each. And we accept cash and card. Partnership too. Temple card. Okay, so thank you kindly for your attention. If anybody wants some books, I'll be up there at the book table. Quite a few of you have gotten already books, so if there's somebody who didn't get it. Okay, thank you so much for your kind attention. So the next 3 days, we will have in the morning seminar on the false ego from 7:30 to 9, and in the evening from 5 to 6:30, deepening our relationship with the Holy Name, Monday to Saturday. So please come. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Our Grace Devaki Devi Dasi ki.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Thanks very much, Mataji. That was really, really nice. Again, whoever has not attended before, you must have realized the power of knowledge in the speech. The next 3 days, as Mataji mentioned, I have sent messages to everyone. So please try to attend, and there will be prasad as well, simple prasad, morning and evening. If you are attending both, then you get prasad. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
And has been